Homeschooling may satisfy a parent's desire to customize their child's education, but this customization is not worth the negative effects homeschooling can have. There are many reasons you shouldn't homeschool your child, and if you think it's too late to switch, it's not. Only 3.4% of children are homeschooled in America today, and although this number seems to be slowly increasing, it's never too late to turn our country around and do what's best for our kids. This topic specifically applies to anyone who has or is around the age of having children. However, spreading information to people who are above or under that age can be extremely beneficial as well. I know that all of you are probably past the point of having children, but hopefully this information will convince you to convince others to send their children to public schools. I attended a public school myself, so I have firsthand experience in a fantastic public education system. I also had a friend who was homeschooled, and even though she was a great person, she wasn't up to the level she should have been each year, academically or socially. Lastly, I have done research through our school's public online library resources to learn exactly why homeschooling is not the way to go. Today I will provide information on homeschooling and attempt to persuade you all to send your children to public schools instead. There are many different arguments comparing homeschooling and public schools, so let's take a look at why public education systems are better. Homeschooling and public schools each have distinct definitions. Homeschooling is considered education provided by a parent or tutor inside the home, costing around $1,000 per year for curriculum alone. Public schools are considered education provided by the state to all children free of charge. Now that I have defined our two comparative topics, I will explain the pros and cons of each. The pros and cons of homeschooling. There are a few pros of homeschooling, but they don't make up for the cons. One considered pro of homeschooling is the customization of education, the ability to choose what and how much to teach a child at home. The problem with this is that children may not be learning everything they need to know to be ready for college. In a public school, children are guaranteed the correct curriculum. Another considered pro of homeschooling is time. Time to sleep in, time to do work whenever the child feels like it, and time to goof off when the parent or tutor is not supervising. Children should not be able to choose when they will roll out of bed and do their assignments. In the real world, having a job means getting up at a strict time to do exactly what you're being paid to do. Lounging around and sleeping in will not teach children this valuable lesson. Another considered pro of homeschooling, in some people's opinion, is being able to spend more time with the family. The problem with this idea is people need their alone time. People need their space and involvement with others. Children should be able to build relationships with other children and even other adults. Parents should also get their time away from the kids, even if this time is received at work. Lastly, many people believe that homeschooling creates the pro of avoiding bad influences. The problem with this idea is the fact that children should be exposed to negativity sometimes. To be ready for the real world, kids should experience mean teachers or students and learn how to effectively handle them. Life will be full of mean bosses and coworkers, so children should be taught how to handle negative situations, not run from them. Now that we have discussed the pros and cons of homeschooling, let's get into public schooling. There are endless reasons to send your kid to a public school instead of homeschooling, but here are the major ones. First, public schools excel at structure. Homeschooled children aren't taught the structure that children in public schools are. Public schools teach silence, waiting in line, obedience, perseverance, etc. Homeschoolers may attempt these critical skills, but will more than likely never get to all of them because of all the other things going on in the house. For example, if a mom is also a teacher, she may have other things to do like cooking, cleaning, laundry, and even taking care of little kids. Next, public schools provide social activities. Homeschooled children don't get to experience school sports, dances, games, etc. Even things like lunch, recess, or later in life dating teaches children how to build friendships and socialize. Life calls for social skills more often than not, and homeschooled children are usually the ones who are quiet and antisocial around their peers. Next, public school, believe it or not, is cheaper than homeschooling and ensures that curriculum will be learned. Homeschooled parents spend around $1,000 per year on curriculum alone for their kids, when sending them to public school would be completely free. Not only do parents spend an insane amount of money for curriculum, they often don't even get to teaching all of the curriculum because of the million other things happening in the house, and that the child may be wanting to do other things from the temptations that being home brings. Public schools ensure that children will learn everything they need to learn before going to college or the workforce. Lastly, public schools ensure physical activity. Homeschooled children usually aren't expected to exercise like a public school child would in PE. Without access to physical education, homeschooled children are going to engage in inadequate physical activity levels. A study was done by Sarah Swenson in 2016, and this included 78 homeschooled students, and it overall concluded that homeschooled children spent most of their time doing other things and never got around to physical activity. This study showed that including a physical education program may increase the percentage of homeschooled children, but I used it to prove that public schools already provide everything a child would need, including exercise. As you can see, there are many reasons to send your child to a public school instead of homeschooling. I have provided information to you on the pros and cons of homeschooling and why you should send your child to a public school instead. If you feel that it is too late, or you can't switch because other moms are homeschooling, think again. I hope this information has changed your mind and helped you realize that the best education for our children is not from home. Please put your children in public schools. Don't strip them of their rights to a great curriculum and learning life skills that homeschooling does not provide. We can create a better future for ourselves and our children, but the first step is to provide the best education possible. Thank you and have a great evening.